Good morning, everyone. I hope you've had a good week. I'm Chris, and this is Pia's Projects. So, have you ever just wanted to buy a car? But when you do it, you're like, well, what do I look for? What do I need? How do I buy a used car? Well, today, that's what we're talking about. I recently purchased a 2001 Chevy Silverado. So, we're gonna go over things I was looking for, things that are good to know, things to avoid, and we'll go from there. Buying a used vehicle. What do we look for? How much do we want to spend? What's a good deal? Those are just a few of the questions that we're going to cover today. And then we're going to go over how I buy a used vehicle. I typically buy probably anywhere from 1 to 4 used vehicles a year, okay? Some are quick projects, some turn into long-term projects, some are really just too good of a deal to pass up. Buy it, clean it up, sell it. I mean, sometimes it's just how it is. First thing you need to figure out is, are you paying cash? Or do you need to buy from a dealership or get a loan from the bank? Okay. If you get a personal loan from the bank, that's basically buying cash, regardless, because you'll have the money in your own pocket. How I usually do it, I set a budget and then knock off anywhere from 1 to 3 grand from that budget for things that may need to be done to the vehicle. Mileage isn't ever really a concern depending on the motor, okay? If you know which type of vehicle you're gonna buy, you're probably fine with a little bit higher mileage. Most of the vehicles I buy are either through Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace, or looking through like other used car sites. Sometimes there's private sellers on those sites. Most of the time it's just dealerships. But again, depending on what you're looking to buy, you can find what you need. Recently totaled a vehicle. Didn't want to drive the Joker every day. Nothing wrong with driving the Joker every day. But there's just things that I plan on doing to it, so I need to have another vehicle when the Joker's down for maintenance or upgrades. I can always use a truck, okay? The vehicle was a 2014 TDI Touareg. Great car. I'll probably own another one. But I needed a truck. I had a little Isuzu pickup, but I'm 6'3". I'm a little bit too big for that vehicle. I figured out the price range I wanted because I knew I was just gonna buy cash and was able to just, identify what I need, okay? When I purchased my truck, I ended up looking at 4 other vehicles, or at least talking to 4 other people, like scheduling meetings for them. The first one I looked at, there was just too much immediate work I had to do to it. Mechanically, it was nearly perfect, mostly because almost everything had been replaced. But visually, like it had a body lift. I don't need a body lift. I would have had to immediately lower it. There was something wrong with the stub axles or CV axles up front. And the tire situation wasn't great. There was just a lot of things that needed to happen, and they were asking some strong money for it. Next vehicle I went to go look at, told them I was on the way. They're like, sorry, it's sold. The one after that, it was at a dealership, which means extra fees, less likely to talk them down. So I just avoided looking at that one. Also, I really wasn't 100% sold on that truck. Then this one popped up, and I sent a message to the seller. He said, are you serious about buying? I was like, well, provided it's, you know, not a POS or just a junk box collecting rot, yeah, I'll be fine. He's like, okay, I'm about 2 hours away. I'll meet you there. We set a time, and I drove there. This is the truck. So we pulled up, I introduced myself, and then we checked it out. What do you do first when you check out a vehicle? Me, I like to do a nice little walk around. See if there's just any crazy abuse to the vehicle. Is it mostly straight? You know, is it missing anything? Is there a bunch of trash in the back? You know, just how old are the tires? Things like that. So when I pulled up, the truck was dirty. It had clearly been sitting outside, but that's not a deal breaker for me. The truck is straight, okay? I crawled underneath, no frame damage. The paint on the hood and the roof are faded. It's a 22, 23-year-old truck. It's almost standard for trucks that day. The bed was actually in really good shape. There's a bed mat in it. As you can see, this is very, very clean. I opened underneath. Yeah, it's a little dirty, but I don't think there's ever been a load on that bed. Next, I went to the interior. So no, these tools were not in there. But yes, you see the seat has some wear and tear. Truck also has 258,000 miles on it. Well, I think it was 256 when I bought it, but it is very clean elsewhere. The back seat, I honestly don't think has ever been sat in, or maybe a little bit here and there, but nothing too crazy. There was, I mean, it was a little dirty. Steering wheel was worn. We'll address that in the future. But all in all, good vehicle. All right, next came to the hood. Yeah, it's still a little dirty, but I checked around. There's really nothing of major concern for a vehicle of this mileage. You know, check the oil. It's actually not that dirty. I think it was changed before it was parked. It sat for about 6 months, so that's really not bad at all. Battery's in good shape. Washer fluid tank, it leaks, which is pretty standard. We'll troubleshoot that later. You want to check out the truck. You want to check out the engine before you start it up. See what's good, what's not good. Mess with the belts. Make sure they have the right tension on it. Make sure oil level's good. Coolant is a good color, not very dirty. Once you've checked everything not running, the next step, start the truck or the vehicle, whatever you're looking at. And here we go. Now what I do is typically a walkthrough, see what's good, what's not good. From here, now it's time for that first test drive. Another thing to check, make sure the seatbelt will lock out. Because the last thing you want is something that just goes woo, woo, woo. Truck has good oil pressure. It's still warming up a bit. Charge seems a little high, but I mean, 22-year-old gauges. We trusting them? I'm sure it'll change once we start driving around. If it's clear behind me, I like to go in reverse, make sure reverse works. See what neutral does. And then put it in drive. Typically, I would like to drive it anywhere from, 3 to 10 miles. Sometimes you can tell pretty quick if there's an issue. For instance, I know this truck needs brakes. The brakes work, but you could tell they've sat a while. They got some rust that they're working through. But all in all, I've already driven this truck for a couple, 3 weeks now, and I really haven't had any concerns with it. I will be upgrading the brakes all around, and that should be pretty much it for maintenance. I did put new tires on, mostly because I wanted to find some stock wheels, and the tires that were on there were about 6 years old, which is right at the limit that I would like to run tires. If it's just a roller, it's not really a big deal, but if I'm going highway speeds, I definitely want some newer tires. It is four-wheel drive. I've engaged in four-wheel drive. I have tested the high and the low range. Both work. I don't see too many times where I will actually be using four-wheel drive, but for those times that I need it, it's good to know that it works. Things I have already done to the truck: lighting, and the front grille, the front end, or the front fascia, has all been changed. Replaced the housings for the lights. I have changed out their light bulbs. I did have to replace the turn signal because that was one of the things that was wrong. Yeah, make sure you check your lights so they all work, but I definitely had a turn signal that didn't work, and the wipers were shot. Other than that, there was really nothing else I had to do to the truck. For just a local in around town commuter, as well as, hauling trash to the dump, going to the junkyard, picking up parts. It definitely does all of those things. So the next thing I would like to do, and I already have the parts, I'm going to lower the rear end a little bit, just for the, aesthetics. I have a 2-inch drop shackle, and I also have a front bull bar that I'm gonna put on it. Will we get that today or tomorrow? Maybe. You know, just depends on how things go. Something you want to do when you're test driving, drive in and around town a little bit, but also find a highway. See how it does on highway speeds. See if there's any shake. You know, if the steering wheel's moving a lot. Does it run straight? We are comfortably cruising about 78 miles an hour. And it's going straight, no problem. That lets me know the front end is tight for the most part. One less thing you probably really have to worry about, at least immediately. One thing you want to check out is steering. See what kind of response there is. See how it feels. This is actually fairly tight considering 258,000 miles. After a successful test drive, then what you want to do, you're gonna park it, and you're gonna walk around the vehicle again. Well, successful test ride. I looked over the truck, everything was good. Granted, I already knew that. But yeah, find a spot, drive around, put it through some slow speed, you know, city driving, stop go, especially if it's something that you typically do. But then also take it on the highway, see how it does around some corners. Just drive it around. And then maybe you can find a cool spot like this. Just something to enjoy.